Hello, everyone. Good afternoon or good evening, or maybe good morning. Maybe you're on the other part of the planet and you're just waking up. Wanted to come on for a quick spiritual takeout. You can always catch my spiritual takeout via Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube, or now on TikTok. And today I thought I'd just pop on. I usually don't come on Facebook for the Intuitive Prospector on a Thursday um, evening, I guess it's 6 o'clock here in the Pacific Standard Time, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But I wanted to celebrate Earth Day. I wanted to talk about this planet, our beautiful home, what it means to us. And again, a lot of with my spiritual takeout, it's always improv. There's really no scripting or planning. So today I thought I'd talk about some of the greatest environmental quotes for Earth Day, things that inspire me. And as the Intuitive Prospector, always connecting to the earth. I'm a Taurus, so the element of earth is a big part of my journey, my spiritual pathways, and hiking and diving and connecting to this wonderful planet of ours. And really what I wanted to say, just as a reminder for Earth Day, it's in honor of Earth Day that I put together a list of environmental quotes that I think are impactful. And I'm just going to be on here for about 15-20 minutes. Not doing any readings. This is more for inspiration, encouragement, motivation, sharing with some food for thought. And, as we move forward into this great transformation that we find ourselves in. But it's also, I hope you find them inspiring as I do. We have an obligation to take care of this world we share. And on Earth Day, it's a great opportunity to celebrate the progress we have made. I'm just reading from the description in this video that I posted. It's also a great opportunity to recommit and strive to do a better job. We're all on a different point on our path toward a more sustainable future. And if you followed my work, you know that I talked about sustainability back with my predictions in 2020 and in 2021. Self-mastery, homeostasis, the great coming together, and sustainability was a big part of that prediction. And so I'm just going to read with you this evening some quotes that have really inspired me, gets me thinking. And I always say the 3 best days of April in the whole year they all take place in April. One, April is, if you're born in April like myself, it's the diamond, the beautiful diamond, finding that diamond within. Remember, no pressure, no diamond. But April 20th, April 21st, and April 22nd. April 20th, for those of you that follow the hemp revolution is what I'm calling it, the cannabis revolution, and how that plant has amazing, amazing properties for you. Those of you who know what 420 is, if you don't, I'll have you look it up. But we have 420, and then yesterday was my birthday. Had a great birthday, another trip around the sun. My wife did a wonderful job of making me feel special and decorating the house, and lots of love on Facebook. Thank you so much for all the love and beautiful messages and the funny photos and the memories and the pictures, and especially during this time. I really appreciate all of you for just taking your time to post on my page to say happy birthday, have a great day, blessings. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And then of course, April 22nd, Earth Day. And this is something that was, developed years ago, and over the time, there's been some really great quotes that have come through for Earth Day inspiration. So I thought I would just take a few moments of your time to share those inspirations with you. And if you like this work, if you like Spiritual Takeout, or if you like my radio show, Inspired Living Radio, I had a great guest on yesterday, GP Walsh. It was like a birthday. It was like a digital birthday gift. So much wisdom and knowledge during that live broadcast. Or you can catch me. I'll be back on Monday for Metaphysical Mocha Mondays in the Healing Cafe here on the Intuitive Prospector page. So turn on the like, subscribe to it, share out. Turn on notifications, send stars if you want, send donations. That's all good stuff. But I just do this because it's my way of paying it forward, the golden rule, and giving back. So we'll start with the first quote. Now, time to draw a little inspiration from these quotes. These are some of my favorite on Earth Day, and just celebrating Earth Day, celebrating us, celebrating the planet, and celebrating better days ahead. I only feel angry when I see waste, when I see people throwing away things we could use. That comes from the great Mother Teresa. And that's so very true. I hope that we get away from plastics. Like I said in previous shows, on my radio show, every dive that I've done around the world, and I've dove in many oceans around the planet, every dive I've seen plastic water bottle, plastic rings that go in the Coke cans. So we want to get away from plastic, because plastic is not biodegradable. It takes 100 years to even break down, and we're putting it into our oceans. So again, how can we turn that waste into things that we could use, recycling? And we already have a lot of creative ways, but I love that from Mother Teresa, and it was a great way to start off this spiritual takeout. The next one comes from Wendy Berry, and it says, the earth is what we all have in common. Wow, that's some powerful stuff right there, because we realize that we have a lot more in common than we have in what we're currently experiencing in society with this great divide, and based on politics, different viewpoints, based on different viewpoints from this pandemic. But at the end, the earth is what we all have in common. And if you break down the word earth, EAR is the first three letters of earth, which spells ear. We need to start listening, because a big part of this virus is because Mother Earth is protecting herself. Nature has a way of protecting, and as history teaches us, thinning the herd out when needed. If a virus gets too big, and that's us as humans right now. So we want to, have sustainability, but we also want to know that we also have Earth as what we all have in common. And over the last few days, there's been a lot of transformational stuff taking place. This is a good reminder on Earth Day that we share one planet. We are one people. We are human beings. We may have different appearances, different skin colors, different religions, different sexual orientations, but at the end of the day, we all have the same heart. We all have the same blood. And we may have different belief systems and different ideologies, but at the end of the day, we can agree on things that we all have in common, and that is the planet Earth. Another great quote comes from the great George Bernard Shaw. Progress is impossible without change, and those who cannot change their minds cannot change anything. Change is difficult, but that is the only thing consistent in life is change. And if we're not willing to change our minds, we're not going to change anything. Change always starts with us, not everybody else. And that's from the great George Bernard Shaw. The next one comes from an anonymous source. We don't know who said this, but it says, time spent among the trees is never time wasted. And that is so very, very true. I love nature, kind of getting conditioned. I've been on this pandemic diet, this COVID diet, if you will, trying to get back in shape. Going to get some hikes coming up and getting out into nature. And even if you can't get into nature, I always remind people, bring nature into you. Go out and hug a tree, because you got to remember, it's a symbiotic relationship. Without the trees, there is no us. They take our carbon dioxide, we take their oxygen. It's a mutual benefit, and we both get along well. So become a tree hugger. It's actually really good for you. It's good for the environment, and the trees love it. But time spent among trees is never wasted time. So if you're having a rough go, maybe you're feeling some anxiety, depression, it's been a hell of a year. Get out and take a 10-minute walk. Get out and connect to nature. I promise you, you'll feel better. Your nervous system will thank you for it. Your higher self will thank you for it. Your spirit will thank you for it. So the next one comes from Percy Bysshe Shelley, and it says, away, away from men and towns, to the wild wood and the downs, to the silent wilderness where the soul need not repress its music. Away, away from men and towns, to the wild wood and the downs, to the silent wilderness where the soul need not repress its music. I kind of like that one. It's kind of more of a, not so much a quote, it reminds me more of a haiku or a poem, if you will. The next one comes from Thomas Fuller, Dr. Thomas Fuller. He that plants trees loves others besides himself. He that plants trees loves others besides himself. And that is from Dr. Thomas Fuller. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. And Margaret Mead reminds us of that. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. And we're going through change. You're seeing it at many different levels in society, in nature, in medicine, in space exploration, in race relationships, in ideologies, in this pandemic, in politics. But again, it can just take a small group of somebody that's committed and thoughtful, along with compassion, kindness, caring for our planet, that can really change the world. So Leo Tolstoy, can't talk, I need some water. He says, one of the first conditions of happiness is that the link between man and nature shall not be broken. And I personally believe, in my humble opinion, a lot of the brokenness we see is because we have disconnected from nature. We have disconnected from our original home, our first home. And I think after this pandemic, I think a lot of people are going to be making the pilgrimaging back to nature. For my birthday, I did a donation. If you want to still donate, I'm donating this year. Every year I pick a nonprofit cause to support. Last year it was the food banks, because I knew that this pandemic was going to overrun our food banks. And I think we raised close to $2,000 for that. This year, I'm actually dedicating any donations or any birthday gifts for my birthday yesterday to the Washington Trails Association. That's WTA. I'm a hiking guide with the WTA, and it's a 501c nonprofit, volunteer-based. And the reason I did it this year is because I think there's going to be a huge amount of people going out into nature, and these trails need to be, maintained and upkept. And, trees do fall during the winter months, and sometimes they just need some TLC so we can go out and enjoy the great experience of what nature is. And again, reestablish that link, because one of the first conditions of happiness is that the link between man and woman and fur babies, that nature shall not be broken. This one comes from Lady Bird Johnson. If you know who she is from history past, she says that the environment is where we all meet, where we all have a mutual interest. It is the one thing all of us share. And that's a great reminder for where we're at. I know there's a lot of trials and tribulations taking place right now on many different levels, with many different, sadness and chaos at times. But at the same time, I still see the great coming together. And I believe that the environment is teaching us that. She's our greatest teacher, our greatest healer, our greatest inspirer. And the environment is where we all meet. This virus came from nature. The vaccines that have been produced come from nature, and the sequencings of DNAs of this virus and the proteins that are in it. And it'll be nature that gets us out of it and finds this overall cure to COVID. Remember, the vaccine's not a cure, it's just a prevent-all. And eventually we will get past this. But COVID will be with us for the rest of the year, because again, there's going to be hot pockets around the globe. The other countries, India right now comes to mind, their healthcare system literally almost collapsed. It may have actually collapsed because there's just so much density and so many people down there that's just spreading like wildfire. And it's mutating. The variation is showing me that it's trying to survive. So its variance is saying, okay, I can't go to this person, so I'm going to change how I'm doing business and try to connect to the younger people. So, but it comes from nature. And again, it's going to be nature that gets us out of this. So again, the environment is where we all meet, where we all have a mutual interest. It is the one thing all of us share. The earth will not continue to offer its harvest except with faithful stewardship. Let me say that again, because I think there's an awakening that's taken place, that there is no planet B, there is no planet C. There is one planet to date that we know of. Doesn't mean in the future that we're going to terraform or discover a planet like ours, but we can't base, based on logic and science, we can't, base a future on something that's not guaranteed to find something. And, the earth will not continue to offer its harvest. And I think we're starting to see some of this unfolding, except with faithful stewardship. There were stewards before us that left an environment for us. We have to ask ourselves a truthful, honest question. Are we doing the same for the generations behind us, the children, your children's children, your children's children's children? Are we being good stewardships? We cannot say we love the land and then take the steps to destroy it for use by future generations. And that comes from Pope John Paul II that talked about that. The earth will not continue to offer its harvest except with faithful stewardship. We cannot say we love the land and then take steps to destroy it for use by future generations. The movie Avatar literally comes to my mind when I say that, to be honest with you. Avatar, if you look at the deeper meaning of the movie Avatar and see it for what it truly is, it's a representation of what we did here on Earth, what we did to the native indigenous cultures, and how we wiped them out and destroyed the planet at the same time. So nature is painting for us day after day pictures of infinite beauty. And that comes from John Ruskin. Nature is painting for us day after day pictures of infinite beauty. And that's so very, very true. Like music and art, love of nature is a common language that can transcend political or social boundaries. That was former President Jimmy Carter that said that. And I like Jimmy Carter, whether he was a Democrat or Republican, I don't care. I just like what he stood for and what he's still doing today in his old age, in his seasoned age. I'm sorry, not old age, in his seasoned age. He is still committing to humanity. He is being a humanitarian and working at his age to build houses and still pay it forward. And again, like music and art, love of nature is a common language. It can transcend political and social boundaries. And I hope we start to work together for that. So nothing is more beautiful than the loveliness of the woods before the sunrise. That is so very true. I love going down to Cabo San Lucas, San Jose, Los Cabos, actually, not Cabo San Lucas. We're up from Cabo. And every morning getting up with the sunrise and watching the sun come up over the Sea of Cortez. Beautiful. I did that for 10 days in February. And it makes me appreciate the sunrise. And of course, tonight, as the sun is getting ready to set here in Seattle, nothing is more beautiful than the loveliness of the woods before the sunrise. Jane Goodall, if you don't know who she is, make sure to research her, another humanitarian that made a big difference and is making a difference in our world. You cannot get through a single day without having an impact on the world around you. Think about that. You cannot get through the day without having an impact on the world around you. What you do makes a difference, and you have to decide what kind of difference you want to make. And that's from Jane Goodall. The ultimate test of man's consciousness may be his willingness to sacrifice something today for future generations whose words of thanks will not be heard. And that comes from Gaylord Nelson. The ultimate test of man's conscience may be his willingness to sacrifice something today for the future generations whose words of thanks will not be heard. Powerful, powerful. I've reflected on that a lot, actually. And there's a lot of truth in, even just my changed behaviors, even at the smallest, no longer drinking plastic bottles, drinking out of glass bottles, recycling, composting, very adamant about that. Plus we get fined in Seattle if you don't do it, but I'd do it regardless if that wasn't the case. But I'm, trying to find ways to, find ways I can sacrifice my livability, my comfortability, my lifestyle. So I'm, paying it forward for future generations. That's what caring and kindness and compassion means too, right? Thinking of others before yourself. And I think the world, we have enough hate out there. I think we could use more love and turn that hate into motivate. So this comes from Henry David Thoreau. What's the use of a firehouse if you haven't got a tolerable planet to put it on? And as a former retired firefighter, spent many years and from the Coast Guard working here in Seattle for the fire service. So true. I mean, what's the use of a firehouse if you haven't got a tolerable planet to put it on? If the world is literally burning it down around us and the fire season has already started and it's only April. So think about that. As things warm up, things get hotter, the world is going to burn. And there's really no use for a firehouse if you're on fire all around. So that comes from Henry David Thoreau. Environmentally friendly cars will soon cease to be an option. They will become a necessity. And that comes from Fujicho, who is the honorary chairman of Toyota Motors. Fujicho, I think I'm saying his name right. And so we're seeing that. Tesla is proving that with his cars. The electric, there was a documentary, What Killed the Electric Car, that I remember watching in either the late 80s or the early 90s. So the technology's been around for a long time. The difference is the sustainability and our dependence on fossil fuels and coal. And we know with our technology, and we can change that and have cleaner energy, and also, how we have a relationship with the earth and what we're putting out into our planet daily. I just think about the trash in my own house here in Seattle, what I put in the trash, whether I compost it or recycle it. And then I think about the people around me, and then that adds up and that goes to the trash. And then I think of the city, and then I think of the state, and then I think of the states, and then I think of the nation, and then I think of the world. I'm like, man, that's a lot of garbage. So, and that's just one of the aspects I think about. Can I make a difference? I'm trying. So, and it all starts with us. So the next one is from Helen Keller. Again, if you don't know her, a very inspirational person from the past. Just for the sake of time, I don't really have time to go into each person as I would, but they've all contributed as humanitarian, as inspirers, as teachers, as stewards to think about the planet. And today we're talking all about Earth Day and celebrating Earth Day. So happy Earth Day, April 22nd, 2021. And Helen Keller reminds us, to me, a lush carpet of pine needles or spongy grass is more welcome than the most luxurious Persian rug. To me, a lush carpet of pine needles or spongy grass is more welcome than the most luxurious Persian rug. And that's Helen Keller, who had no sight and could only feel. So that's an interesting perspective from her to say that. The next quote comes from our great former president, Franklin D. Roosevelt. A nation that destroys its soils destroys itself. Forests are the lungs of our land, purifying the air and giving fresh strength to our people. A nation that destroys its soils destroys itself. And I don't have to prove it to you. You can look out the window, you can get on the news, you can see it for yourself for what it is. So Eckhart Tolle reminds us the greatest agent for change is awareness. The earth is fine. The earth is a fine place and worth fighting for. And that is from the famous Ernest Hemingway, which I actually went down and visited his place down in Key West. I've got some Hemingway rum from the distillery, the Hemingway house. But yeah, the earth is a fine place and it's worth fighting for. That's why I came on today for Spiritual Takeout, just to share some of my favorite quotes on Earth Day. Something simple, something inspiring, encouraging, and motivating, and just honoring and celebrating Earth and those that inhabit it. The next one is from a traditional Navajo prayer. And this is one that I actually sometimes do on my Forest Friday hikes, which hopefully will start up soon. If not, I'll go by myself. But it says this: as I walk with beauty, that's the name of the prayer. So you can say this in prayer form if you like, if you want to close your eyes. As I walk, the universe is walking with me. In beauty, it walks before me. In beauty, it walks behind me. In beauty, it walks below me. In beauty, it walks above me. Beauty is on every side. As I walk with beauty. And that's a traditional Navajo prayer. And the next one comes from Barry Commoner. And he says the proper use of science is not to conquer nature, but to live in it. So think about that. Science and nature, science and spirituality, all syncing up, all shaking hands, becoming friends. The proper use of science is not to conquer nature, but to live in it. And nature is showing to us through data, through science, that the world is changing. And we are getting to a tipping point. We are getting to a paradigm shift where we can't go back. And my hope and prayer and thoughts and manifestation and visualization is that we do come together as a people and we start to find common ground and realize that the earth is our one place that we can all agree upon is our home. And this is a beautiful place to be. And last but not least, from Barbara Wood, we have forgotten how to be good guests, how to walk lightly on the earth as its other creatures do. Why is that? The only other creature on the planet that I'm aware of that can change their environment is the beaver, because the beaver builds the dams, the water backs up. What was once dry forest becomes underwater, whole different environment. And if you've ever dove or you're a scuba diver like myself, you know when you drop down, whether it's here in the Puget Sound or the Mediterranean or the Pacific, it's like dropping into a whole different terrestrial world, beaming with life and connectivity and balance and beauty. And, we have forgotten to be good guests. And again, if we go back to history, if we go back to science, if we just go to common logic, if the landlord is not happy with those that are renting out the property, or the tenants are being a-holes, the landlord at some point is going to find a way to evict. It may not happen right away, but the landlord will evict. And Mother Earth is the landlord, and we are the tenants, and we are not being very good stewards. We are not being very good guests. And my hope in 2021, from a numerology setting, which we call the year of the 5, or freedom, love, and adventure, I hope that this transformation, getting back to the Paris Accord Agreement, just to set the tone that we are in agreement with science and that there is global change taking place and how we can make a difference to that, that goes a long way. Words matter and leadership matters. And I believe that, I think a lot of us want that. There's always going to be 30% of the population that doesn't want it. We'll always rally against what the majority wants. That's what democracy is, minority and majority. But democracy is also hearing the voice of the minority, not just the majority. So I hope that we're listening and allowing different perspectives and allowing different opinions, because again, I believe at the end of the day, we can all agree on what brings us together is this beautiful, beautiful planet of ours. So that's just some spiritual takeout with some of my favorite quotes from today, and some prayer and some poems along the way. And I'll just end with, again, Ernest Hemingway's "The Earth is a fine place and worth fighting for." I hope that you're finding a way to make a difference and to fight for what is good and right for our planet, and making those sacrifices to be good stewards in the days and months and years ahead. So thank you for hanging out with me here on the Intuitive Prospector page. Again, just a quick spiritual takeout. It'll be over on my YouTube channel and Instagram. If you want to follow me on any of those, you can always go to marclainhart.com. Internet search the Intuitive Prospector for readings, articles, workshops, hikes, meditations, spiritual takeout, my shows, Inspired Living Radio. You can ask Alexa to open up Positive Living and get spiritual tips through your Alexa application. Just say, "Alexa, open up Positive Living," and she will open up Positive Living. Hopefully she's not going to do that. Alexa off. So Facebook gets a little territorial with some of the stuff that I use. But just thought I'd leave it there, and I'll just say I hope you have a great rest of your evening or morning, wherever you're at in the world and just starting. And again, happy Earth Day to all of you. Thanks for hanging out with me. And until our next soul adventure together, be kind, be caring, be compassionate, and most importantly, dare to dream, dare to explore, dare to live, and discover that diamond within. Have a great day, everybody. Happy Earth Day.